Hello ladies and gentlemen, once again it is I, the Immortal of InsaneWeTrust.blogspot.ca. As usual, put a link to my blog in the description. And before I get into Series 7, I just want to say that I do apologize for how absolutely rambled and chaotic my last video was, the video for the name of the Doctor. I was dead set in the middle of a really nasty cold that day, and I wanted to get it out. It didn't turn out horrendously, so I'm going to keep it up, of course, but I don't know. That was a bad cold. And not helping the matter is the fact that that episode ended rather confusingly, to the point where I'm actually still not quite sure what happened. But I'll get into that when I get into that. But, yes, since last, I believe it was September, we have been privy to the Series 7 of Doctor Who as we know it. And this was a very different series in that this one took a very episode-by-episode approach compared to most seasons, which had an overarching theme or some kind of an overarching story to it. This one really didn't. Well, it did, but it didn't. How do I word this a bit better? They put a much bigger emphasis on singular episodes as compared to other seasons, which would always have about, two or three two-parters in them. Like, I'm just trying to think of Series 5. Series 5 had the Weeping Angel two-parter, the Silurian two-parter, and then at the end it had the Big Bang two-parter. So yeah, there was 3 two-parters in Series 5. Series 7 had none. Not one. Because of this focus on singular episodes. Now, did it work? Did it work in a more... how do I word this? Did it come out well? Did they accomplish essentially what they wanted to accomplish? And I'm not exactly sure, because I think it came out about as good, all in all. But what happened was, the episodes were really solid. They were much more self-contained. They didn't have a lot of hints to minor things. But it still continued on what it was doing. But it did feel very segmented. Not helping the matter is, of course, the fact that Series 7 Part 1 and Series 7 Part 2 are two completely different creatures. Which is, again, why I usually refer to Series 7 Part 1 as Series 6.5. Similar to the David Tennant specials before he regenerated. So, what does that mean for the overarching story? Well, there still is one. Part 1 involving the pawns becoming less and less companions and more just regular people who occasionally meet the Doctor. And then eventually they're leaving, of course. Their deaths, basically. So there's that part. And then there's the second half, which also kind of blends into the first half because of Clara Osmond Oswald. And because of Miss Oswald, it is a completely through the season thing with her. Which is, how the hell does she even exist? And while I'm not quite sure what I was expecting a much bigger twist with it, I think. But obviously, we all know now what it is. I'm not going to say it just yet for the sake of spoilers, which I will get into once I start talking about episode by episode. By the way, this is going to be a much longer episode than I've made before, just to warn you. So I'm going to try and keep the energy up a little bit more, if I can, anyway. Excuse me. Anyway, where would I put this season compared to the other ones? That's a difficult question, because it's like apples and oranges, really. Because while the season is extremely good, for better or for worse, I think that it's just that segmentation that kind of, it just throws me off, because I love pace. I love like that type of thing. I can excuse plot holes and things like that if the pace and if the how do I word this? The pace and the the smoothness of it and the consistency of the story is good. And if I think that everything works really well together, as a whole, I think if everything works together, even if there's like some plot holes or some iffy acting or whatever, I can forgive a lot. And the thing is, I also really like seasons as a whole. Like just watching a whole season and just going story by story by story. I do love that. Here's the problem. This season, as a seasonal pace, is pretty much dead. And that's the problem with the season. Because there's no real seasonal momentum. That's the word I was looking for. There's no real seasonal momentum. In that one episode goes in the next episode and it's a fresh start. Basically. Or at least it feels like that because of how emphasized each episode is. So that's really my main gripe right there, is just the fact that these episodes are excuse me. These episodes are very singular, and they're very good episodes, as I'll get into. But it's just hard to place it where I would put it. The episodes are really good, but at the same time, the seasonal. I would put it above season 5, I think, because Matt Smith's acting has gotten so much better. By the way, like it has increased so well. It really has. Because watch season 5, then watch season 7. There's a world of difference, I think, anyway. Like, he just owns the character now. So, I'm very curious of just where he's gonna go with this. Because a lot of rumors about him regenerating mid-season next season have started sprouting up. Of course, that happened last year, so... Anyway. It is a good season. Would I say it's better than season 6? No. Season 6 is still probably my favorite, but it's a good season. All in all, I would say. But anyway, now we're getting into spoiler territory. You know what that means. If you don't want to hear about, if you haven't gotten a chance to see some of the episodes, when I mention the name of it, let's, turn off or skip or something. I don't know. Let's start off with the beginning. Season 7, episode 1, which is Asylum of the Daleks. I still think this is an excellent episode. I'm a sucker for the Daleks, so that makes it kind of a given. Osmond Oswald obviously was one of the really big things with this season. Clara Osmond Oswald, obviously. And the fact that we weren't expecting her to show up until Christmas, and she showed up in this episode, caught pretty much everyone by surprise. And I think that it was just done so masterfully. How she was thrown in there, and she, in the end, it was a Dalek who thought she was still human. I thought that was genius, because it turned the Daleks into these really creepy things, these insane creatures. Like I said in the first one, when they start, it almost sounds like a lawnmower revving up the crazy Daleks screaming exterminate. That was a really cool moment. I think that's what really drives this episode, is the fact that it made Daleks creepy. And other episodes have made them scary. Dalek, for instance. But this one is, I don't know, there's just something about it I really like. I like the tone of it. I like everything about it except for one thing, which was the Pond's divorce business. That should not have even happened. You know, that it just shouldn't have. I think there should have been some distance between them, maybe? Like they've been acting a little bit weird, and the doctor shows up, and then they get together, and then they mention the thing at the end. That makes sense. But, go figure, you know. But all in all, I thought it was a good episode. That was a very good episode. And God, I love that. As stupid as the name is, the Prime Minister of the Daleks. Just because that one line he said, something around the lines of, we would not destroy our insane, for we would not get rid of such magnificent hate. I love that line. But anyway, Silent Daleks, pretty damn good. Moving on. Dinosaurs on a spaceship. Okay, I'm gonna get the wrath of a few people on this one, but I really don't like that name. Mostly because of the fact that of what it's referencing, which is obviously snakes on a plane, which it just cheapens it to me. Like Doctor Who always had this class to it, and referencing snakes on a plane just kind of, I don't know, it just threw the class out the window, I think. But all in all, I do think it was a great episode. You know, mentions of the Silurians, fantastic. The two sub-characters, Nefertiti and Big Game Hunter. Patrick Muldoon. I can't remember what his freaking name was. But anyway. You know, I thought they were pretty good. All in all, I do think it was a pretty good episode. The villain was excellent. I cannot remember his name for the goddamn life of me right now, but it was an excellent villain. And all in all, just a really solid episode. You know, it delivered what it promised. Dinosaurs on a spaceship. Maybe a little bit more of them could have been used, but it worked. I will admit those two robots who were with the main villain. I can't remember his name. I believe the last Angry Geek referred to them as Hack and Slash, which admittedly got a pretty good chuckle out of me. But those two robots really aren't real major problems I have with that episode. And the side characters, well, good. Side characters, Nefertiti and the Hunter, whatever his name was, were good, but I felt a little unnecessary. And Rory's father as well, who at the time was just kind of okay. I think he came in the end, it all worked out. So, and now we have the third episode, Town Called Mercy. This was because of how the villain was portrayed, and I use that term very loosely because it's kind of hard to determine who the villain is, the alien doctor or the gunslinger. Because, you know, one of them is just based on revenge and just wants to destroy, even if it means wiping out an entire town. The other one committed atrocities, but while perhaps he may have been a little whiplashy, middle of the episode now that I think about it, seemed, at the end at least, generally very sorry for what he did and tried to make amends for it. And I love that type of graying of characters. I still think that little evil bit where he pushed the Doctor over the edge was a little off. And I'll mention something when I get to the last episode that I just remembered, actually. I'll try to remind myself. But all in all, very good episode. I'm trying to think of anything I didn't like in that episode. Not really. The Doctor's getting downright enraged and just dragging the guy out and basically threatening to kill him. That was intense. Which again harkens back to the name of the Doctor, which I'll get into in a second. But that was kind of the thing I thought was going to happen this season, was the Doctor snaps. And that never really happened. Kinda did, but not really. I'll get to that in a minute. But all in all, very, very good episode. Out of the three, about on par, let's say. And then we have the low light, Power of Three. The Power of Three had one really good thing, which was, well, actually, it had two really good things. I thought the characters were all pretty good. I thought they all, comedically, I thought they all did well, and I thought that for character purposes, they all did well. And the second thing, and I hope they bring this back despite the fact that The Power of Three didn't exactly get the most positive reviews, is the Shockery. I think those guys are so cool. Like, I know they're basically just the robot ships. They're essentially the Reapers from Mass Effect. That's pretty much it. But I like the mythos of the Tally, of them obeying this call of Judgment Day, this darkness, to this very robotic yet very almost religious belief in the Tally. I really like them, and especially that whoever portrayed that old guy who was the hologram of the representing the Shockery. I want that back because that was really cool. I think the Shockery will make excellent villains in an episode that might not suck, because while the Power of Three had great characters, good comedy, and a good villain, it was really slow, like painfully and pitifully slow. So, that was the problem with it. And I don't think the payoff was very good, and the pacing was maybe not all over the place, but it was just kind of iffy. And there were just a lot of things I wasn't a huge fan of with it. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was terrible. I just think it was the dullness drug it down just enough. Again, that being said, Shockery, I want them back. Not the best episode to have them debut in, but come on. Anyway, and then we move on to the final part of Series 7, Part 1, which is The Angels Take Manhattan, which is the Pond's farewell. Which, I'll say it again, it isn't Amy or Rory that had me going. That was just the sad moment. It was the Doctor. His reaction when Amy warped back to the past from the Angel was absolutely heartbreaking. Like, just the look on his face alone was just heartbreaking. And I actually rewatched the episode recently, and it had me going for a second. Even now. Like, Matt Smith, bravo, dude. Which is something that seems to be continuing on with this one. The angels themselves kind of brought some creepiness back, and then took it right the hell away. The weeping cherubs, creepy as hell. The Statue of Liberty being a weeping angel. Really stupid. And really shark jumpy. Like I said, the angels were damn creepy in Blink. They were... Because we actually saw them move in The Time of Angels. I believe that was the name of the two-parter. I think that kind of worked it for me. I just didn't quite enjoy that. I think that kind of, again, jumped the shark for them. But they still had some creepiness to them. The cherubs tried to bring it back, and then just that shark jumpingest moment ever. I quoted the Nostalgia Critic, I believe, in the original review for that, which was something like, they didn't jump the shark, they jumped over the shark, kicked it, ate its flesh, devoured its soul, raped it, etc. And then did the same with 7 more sharks. Yeah, that's pretty shark jumpy right there. Anyway, still a pretty good episode all in all, though. Then we have the Christmas special, The Snowman. The Snowman was stolen by 2 things. It was all in all a pretty good episode. The villain, I did not know was going to be as big as he was, so I really didn't think that much of him. Now, a bit more, but I'll get into that when I get into that. the snowmen, generally very enjoyable. Because of two things. Number one, because of Strax, Jenny, and Vostra, whom I freaking love, and as I've learned this season, need their own spin-off desperately. Anyway, Strax stole the goddamn show, and the Doctor was fighting back and forth with them quite a bit, because they were both hilarious. Strax, though, you know, the memory worm bit was pretty funny. I'm just trying to remember like what one of my favorite ones was. Probably the memory worm bit, just because it was Abbott and Costello. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. You know, I love that one. That was really funny. And seeing Vostra and Jenny again, awesome. Clara is the other really good part. Not only the character, whom I love. I love Oswin, first time she showed up. I love Clara when she showed up the second time. And I generally really enjoyed Clara throughout Series 7 as of right now. But it was the twist that made her for me. The twist with Clara was awesome. Because I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I had all these kinds of theories leading up to the name of the Doctor. And, that's what really got me right there. So, that was really cool. It was the twist that it was the same girl twice who died. And the Doctor, obviously, that becomes the big setup for the season. Which I love that. I thought that was really good. Anyway, I think I'm actually going to cut this into 2 parts, so I will see you with part 2 in hopefully a minute. I think I'm probably going to take a small break between recordings, but anyway, I shall see you back in a few seconds if you just click on the other video. Yeah, see ya.